Right, decided to get out on the bike just for a little blap because I'm a bit stressed, and there just seems to be some solace, I guess, that you find when just, you know, getting out on these getting out on this old girl, on the beast. Anyway, I've got something to chop off, so I thought, well, why not? Oh, that wind's a bit toasty. So yeah, I thought I'd just head out, get some fresh air. Well, not really fresh, is it? I'm breathing on myself. Get out, have a bit of a ride. See if my mood improves. The thing is, it's not even like anything bad has happened that is consequential. It's the fact that I've applied for a certain scheme through the business that I have. I adhere to all of the regulations, and they've said no, you don't hold the qualification, or you don't meet the regulation of the standard. Now, I do meet the regulation and the standard that they set out in their guide. I meet it by actually an exceptional amount and more. And the funny thing is they even quote regulation ABCD 3145 in their guide, and the government quote exactly the same regulation as being approved, authorised and licensed at the time of when I passed my certificate. Now, this has been going on since October last year for me to join a standard that promotes the industry. And you just think, what? I've jumped through all of the hoops, I've been audited. There's one thing that was missing, an up-to-date first aid certificate. Well, I've done that. Submitted that. That was it. They've come back to me today and said, no, you don't meet the standard. You might have done when the certificate was issued, but you don't now. And I just think it's crazy, because imagine if they did that with licensing or driving licensing. And I know there are certain, grandfather rights that people have with regards to driving 7.5 tonners, but imagine if the government decided to bring in, in fact, a new test requirement. Well, they have, haven't they? Hazard perception was never a thing when I passed my test. I'm sorry if I sound a bit ranty, but it's really got my goat today. Hazard perception came in. I passed my driving licence, over 20 years ago. I don't know how long it's been in, but imagine if the government turned around to everyone and said, DVLA or Driving Standards Agency or whatever licensing, if they turned around and said, right, yeah, you passed your driving test back then, and it was good enough then, but now you need to do hazard perception, and everyone's driving licenses or certifications got revoked. It'd be bloody ridiculous, wouldn't it? It just doesn't make any sense. If you pass, doctors have to do CPD, continued personal development, as I do in my industry. But you don't. you know, I've got to do, you know, over X number of hours in every 5 years or whatever it is, which is understandable and acceptable. But you can't start going, well, that regulation that you applied to then isn't relevant now. Yes, there is requirements where you've got to update your skill set. That's nice. You know, or ensure that you're at the cutting edge, or certainly meet evolution in industry. But to say that your certificate, of which cost you a lot of money, is effectively no longer valid because they moved one bit of it onto the next tier up. It just doesn't. It's not fair, and I know life's not fair, but you can't just play silly buggers like that with people's livelihoods, especially when you're attempting to promote industry and an ethical and good standard that helps everyone, you know. And by all accounts of what I've researched and looked at today, I don't see many people flocking to the standard. I can't give you context to it because I don't want to, because it's, some people might find it what's the right word? Sensitive. Sensitive the right word? No, sensitive isn't the right word. But anyway, I don't want to tell you what the standard is. It's just done my nut today. You know, and it's not even in my primary career. You know, my primary career, I'm constantly evolving, doing courses and making sure that my skill set, my knowledge and my expertise is updated in accordance to governance and regulation. But when you've jumped through months and months of hoops, and at stages been emailed in writing to say yes, you do, you know, you are right, and you just need to do a first aid certificate, and then you do that, and then they go, well, sorry, no. It's just a piss take. So anyway, I've emailed them highlighting their current expectation, my qualification at point of certification, and how the two regulations are identical. Now, I don't think it's going to get me anywhere. I don't think they're going to come back to me and go, oh, do you know what, as a standard, as a UK standard, we're wrong, you're right, we take it back. I don't think that's going to happen. But subject to how they respond, bear in mind I've had to pay for this, and to pay for the audit. Nice kite there, look. I've had to pay for all of this. Their response will determine what route I take next. There's two routes. I get my refund back, and maybe on certain industry specific forums I have a little whinge, or whether I get my refund back and I don't do anything. And I think the lesson there is, don't like complaining, I like educating. But sometimes when you know that people aren't just they're not going to take the feedback on board, or they're not going to identify that you're trying to help them and the industry, I think they do need a little bit of public pressure. Funny thing, I had bought some peppers from Asda a couple of weeks ago. What are they called? They're called Padrons, Padron peppers, love them. Bit of salt and pepper, bit of olive oil. Oh, look at that crack. Bit of pepper, stick them in the air fryer, 180, 12 minutes. Lovely jubbly, comes out a treat, all crispy, nice. Could eat them all day. Anyway, munching away on one of them with the wife, and somehow the Padrons had been contaminated at source with a bird's eye chili. Now, Padron doesn't have any heat to it. It's just it's like a bell pepper but smaller, a manageable chunk. Bird's eye chili blows your back doors out. So, in stuffing my face, I encountered a little bit of shock. So I kept the chili in the packet, and as a good citizen I emailed Asda and said, this is what's happened, just thought I'd bring it to your attention in case somebody else ends up going into some kind of shock, not expecting anything back fiscally, just to let you know. And I got an email back from Tavir. The English was questionable. Hello, Mr. Sir. And he offered me a £5 voucher. Didn't even address the concern. As in, we're looking into this. We're doing I wasn't expecting a product recall, but just some kind of acknowledgement over the actual the issue. So I sent another email back and just said, look, Tavir, thank you for your goodwill gesture, I really appreciate that. However, you haven't really addressed my main concern. So he emailed back and said, thank you for your email, Mr. Sir. Here's another £5 gift voucher. So I had £10, and yeah, he didn't, yet again, for the second time, address the actual real concern. It's the fact that there was obviously a contamination in this thing. So I escalated it, and got cut off half a dozen times because people don't like being, they don't like complaints being escalated. So then I managed to track down the escalation senior. Oh, that's quite nice. What an interesting tree, look. Managed to track down this individual, Louise, out the head office at Asda, and of course trying to get through to someone is almost impossible. And Louise, to give her credit, did a full investigation, actually came back with some good feedback. And again, I outlined to her I wasn't really interested in a fiscal or some kind of financial gain from it. I just wanted to make sure that Doris, that lives in one of these little bungalows in the middle of nowhere, well, not in the middle of nowhere, but overlooking that, and is enjoying her retirement, doesn't keel over because she's just indulged in a dozen bird's eyes. So yeah, anyway, it's funny how people respond, don't they? Dear Mr. Sir. Anyway, I used to go to school over there in that building in the distance, if you can see it. This was my nursery, not that you're probably interested. I need to go this way actually, I've got to drop something off. So yeah, that's the end of my story and my rant today. I think an element of common sense has to apply, really, or should apply. We can't keep going through this slopey shoulder society. And this, guy called Daniel used to live there. He used to go to school with, and they were digging in their garden one day, some random thing, and they found a Second World War air raid shelter with everything in it. Right. Anyway, I'll catch up with you in a bit. If I haven't stopped whinging, by which point. Did I shut them? Yes. Yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, common sense just seems to have like disappeared, doesn't it? Really? In pretty much everything that people do now. It's like, what? I mean, there's been some of this week about selling your soul to the devil, and you're in life, you've got, if you set with a standard or an ethical objection, possibly one of the worst estate agency boards I've ever seen. Leave quickly, sort it out. Anyway, if you're going to set off with some kind of rule in business, you know, say, right, we're going to abide by this code of ethics, and by sticking to this code of ethics, we're going to follow that throughout our whole business journey. So an example of that would be a very well-known four-letter brand. It was created just after the Second World War, a fashion, or a supposedly high-end fashion stroke everything brand that they claim to be now. Their sole purpose was to create a product with value, of high quality, and not mass produced, you know, small lines of items, blah 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 blah. Anyway, as it happens, they've sold themselves to the devil after, yeah, it didn't take them very long, to be honest. They went about it relatively quickly, and now you can go into any major western city. They've got buildings that are 4 or 5 stories high, just with mass-produced crap, in a nutshell. And this is what I was talking to someone about this week, is, you know, people just don't value in society now quality, you know, or buy things for life, or certainly buy things with longevity in mind. You know, this bike here is now done, what, 16,077 miles from 1991, and it must have lived outside at some point. But, you know, back when whoever bought it did, I wonder if they thought, well, I'm going to keep this forever, this is going to be my forever bike, or whether it was just well, I've got the latest adventure bike now, to do anything with it. My ranting high. Lady C's house in there, the castle, Lady Colin Campbell. Back again, just to say, you know, I think it's important. It's important just to have a little rant every now and then. You know, whether you go out on your bike and stick your head under the water in the bath and have a scream, but get it out, don't keep it in. There is something very, let's say, refreshing and healthy about doing it. You don't need to run across the whole of Africa to cleanse and cure yourself, although matey boy that lives just over there in Worthing does, you know, it's a hell of an achievement, something, you know, highly respectable, but sometimes you can just have a little rant and feel better at the end of it. So anyway, that's it from me. Little insignificant rants.